I have to mute myself here. Is that my personal page? So let's go live on Terrio Jenkins. Share to page. Athena, go live there. Look at my timeline. All right, so we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. All right. So this is actually Writing Comics Guide, episode 3. Today I'm going to be going over the beats for Act 2. My name is Terrio Jenkins. I am the writer and creator of Favor of Athena, which you can find at www.favorofathena.com. And if you are on YouTube, make sure you hit that bell to be notified of new videos. Give me a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. It all helps my channel out. If you're on Instagram, please, this is your chance to follow me. If you already follow me, please leave a comment. And for anybody that is following on Patreon, thank you for your support. So let's get right into it. So Act 2, in Act 1, we took our protagonists from their normal world and we put them into a new world. For the example I gave of comic books is this is when Spider-Man gets bitten by the radioactive spider. He has to choose how he's going to use his newfound powers. And after Uncle Ben dies, he decides to become Spider. Well, after he avenges Uncle Ben's death, he then decides to become Spider-Man, and that's Act 2. Our manga slash anime example is from actually, I'm not even going to do Full Alchemist anymore. We'll do Bleach. So for Bleach, if you're talking about the first arc, I forget the name of it. Oh, the Kakarot Town arc. Before he, before Ichigo goes to the Soul Society, this would essentially be after the first episode where he now has to learn how to be a Soul Reaper. So let's go over the first beat in Act 2 is the break into 2. Oh, no, wrong notes. The first beat in the Act 2 for me and for screenwriters from the Save the Cat novel is the B story. Now the B story is where you can introduce the B story that I'm supposed to be recording is where you can introduce new characters who will help the hero learn the lesson of the story. It's also where you can introduce a new mentor. The whole point of this beat is it's supposed to be kind of a quiet, watered down break from the story where, you have your main story that's been going really fast. And the whole point of this beat is to slow the story down and kind of help the protagonist get acclimated to their new world. You can also introduce the romance character at this point, and you can also introduce several of the new pitfalls that may come to your protagonist in the form of a rival or a new enemy. The next beat is fun and games. This is the beat that we all see in movie trailers. This is where the fun parts of your story align and is what brings your audience to the movie or brings your audience to your book. This is also where we start to see if our protagonist is going to succeed in their new world or if they're going to fail in their new world. So for Spider-Man, he obviously starts off succeeding. He's capturing bad guys, no big deal, right? In Bleach, Ichigo is succeeding because everything that Rukia teaches him, he tends to master right away. And even when he goes into his first real big hollow fight with Orihimi's brother, he ends up getting notifications. He ends up winning. So both protagonists are succeeding in their new worlds. This is the beat where you want to show how the new world is, show that the hero is learning their abilities, their training, or again, if they're failing in their abilities and their training. And that leads us to our third beat of Act 2. So the midpoint. Now, for everybody who's following this for writing comic books, for me, the midpoint ends the second part of my story. I the fun and games beat is actually a multi-scene beat, and the midpoint and the B story are both single scenes. So I tend to use the B story through the midpoint as issue 2 or as part 2 of my miniseries to help with the pacing. But it's up to you how you would like to do it. The midpoint is where we ultimately see if the protagonist has succeeded or failed. And this is the beat where everything starts to turn around. For Spider-Man, this is when the bigger villain comes to play in any of his stories and kind of does something that sets Spider-Man back. For Ichigo, it's the same thing. Orihimi's brother got the drop on him. He didn't realize that hollows could be former humans. Oh, there we go. I knew it was going to happen sooner or later. Give me a moment. I gotta get back to my spot. And turn it back on. Now, in Blake Snyder's Save the Cat, the midpoint is considered a false victory or a false defeat because it's at this point that the protagonist may think that they have failed, but eventually will succeed in the next act. The fourth beat in Act Two is called The Bad Guys Close In. It's in this beat that the bad guys close in. It's like, this is the point of the story where, again, going with the midpoint, where the hero's success or failure dictates this beat. If the hero succeeded at the midpoint, this is the beat where things start to roll downhill for the hero. For Spider-Man, this is when Mary Jane gets kidnapped. For Ichigo, this is when Orihime gets hurt. If we're going with episodes 2 and 3. The fifth beat of Act 2 is called the All Is Lost. Now, in movies, this is usually the beat where somebody dies. In Star Wars, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Usually, this is the point of the story where everything for the hero or our protagonist looks very bleak, and they really have to start thinking of new ways, which leads us into the next beat. So the next beat is called The Dark Night of the Soul. This is another reaction beat to the previous beat, where after that big moment that has hurt the hero, they have to have time to reflect. So again, this is another beat where you want to take your time but pacing the story. So there's more examples if you go by episodes of Bleach. I'm not going to go too deep into those. That's not the point of this particular episode or article if you're reading. But just know that the Dark Night of the Soul is a reflection beat, and that the protagonist needs to decide if they're going to continue on and finally learn the lesson from the B story and from the theme stated. Our last beat for Act 2 is the break into 3. Now, again, for me personally, as a comic book writer, from the bad guys close in to the break into 3, that's a whole issue for me. That's usually part 3 of my miniseries, or issue 3, as you will. And, but again, it's up to you how you pace your story. For me, it just makes sense to break the story down into 4 issues, with Act 2 comprising of 2 issues. The break into 3 is when the protagonist has their aha moment. It's when they learn the lesson that was dictated in the theme stated beat and also brought back up again in the B story beat. So you will want to continue having them come full circle. And this is what we call character development. And usually they decide to go on with their goal, but now they're going after their goal with the right lesson in mind. They're not doing it the wrong way anymore. See where I left off at. Oh, perfect. So those are the beats for Act 2. I try to keep this short and sweet. Please continue to follow me on Facebook. I guess really follow me on Facebook now that I'm live. Huh? Continue to follow me on Facebook, Patreon, YouTube, Instagram. Everybody who's following me on all those platforms, thank you so much. Special thank you to my Patreon followers. Your money is your financial support is what helps drives everything that we do. So I'm very appreciative. Save the cat. I hope you're watching this. I love the story structure. I love Blake Snyder's work. You guys are the reason why I've been able to focus on my story. So thank you guys. And yeah, that's it. That's all I have. Again, if you're on YouTube, hit the bell to be notified of new videos. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, helps the channel grow. If you're on Instagram, please continue to follow. If you're not following, follow me now. Same thing goes for you followers on Facebook or whoever's viewing on Facebook. I got multiple pages open, so click the follow button. And if you're watching this on Patreon and you just so happen not to be a Patreon member, you can join for as little as $3 a month. So until next time, you guys be good and always be terrific. And I will see you guys with the next episode.